Hey, 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 here we are. Happy Wednesday and day 7 of our 8 days of celebrating Redemption Press's 8th year in business and ministry. And we are super excited to be getting to today's portion where you're going to get to meet some amazing people who are either authors or team members, and just you're going to get to hear some behind the scenes, and you're going to get to hear from one of our best-selling male authors. We've had Dean Davis was here the first night, so tonight we have our second male author. We have many male authors, but people don't realize that because we do have a majority of women who publish with us, but that's just the publishing industry these days. So, what we are going to do, if you have not, hey, Tracy and Karen and Ann, happy. If you're coming on for the first time and you have not clicked on the StreamYard link above the image on your screen, if you would do that, then that way we will see your name when you make a comment, because we're doing a drawing at the end and we're going to give away a bunch of books, but we don't know who you are. You have to make a comment in order to go into the drawing. And if all it says is Facebook user, then we don't know who you are. So we would like you to either click on the StreamYard link that will automatically use your Facebook profile, so that when you make a comment in the chat, it will show up with the picture from Facebook. But if you don't do that, please just make sure when you make a comment that you tell us your name. Hey, Donna and Jan and Suzanne. Nice to see you, ladies. Yes. So good. So, couple other, let's see, announcements. I think I did everything except for, let me just say that tomorrow we are going to have some more of our faculty from Proclaim to introduce you all to. So that's just kind of been the bookends of this 8 days, the first Thursday, and then tomorrow it's our normal time to introduce you to some of the Proclaim faculty members. So we will be doing that tomorrow night. So make sure tomorrow afternoon for me and some of you. So hope to see you there. And I think what I'll do now, before I bring up onto the screen Dr. Larry Selig, I'm going to actually introduce him, and he will have a copy of his book to show you when he comes on the screen. Dr. Larry Selig is a Presbyterian pastor, graduate of Dartmouth College, Princeton, and Luther Theological Seminaries. In his book, 5 Prayers God Loves to Answer, Dr. Larry Selig answers the questions most asked by Christians and non-Christians alike. Why isn't God answering my prayers? Boy, I know I've asked that question in the past. In the book, he provides a guide to transform your prayer life through examining misconceptions of the nature of prayer, uncovering scriptural conditions for answered prayers. I love those. Increasing your understanding of the way God speaks, and helping you learn to discern God's voice. Powerful elements that we all need to wrap our heads around and our hearts around. So I am super excited for Dr. Selig, let me say, to be with us today. There's the book, 5 Prayers God Loves to Answer. Thank you for holding that up, Larry.
Okay.
All right. So, and you're good. You don't have to keep it up the whole time. Your arms start to shake.
Yeah, my arm's getting tired.
There we go. Well, I just thank you so much for being with us today, and would love to hear from you what you've seen God do with the message of your book in print since you published with Redemption Press.
Well, I tell you, Athena, I knew that I was touching on a significant subject for many people when I got a pilot group together to do a study. This book is designed for individuals and small group discussion. And I gave it to this first group, and the Anglican rector who did it by Zoom uh, did it for about 9 weeks. And then this is what his comment was. We used the book in Zoom in our small group study, and it blessed us out of our socks. We will never say or read the Lord's Prayer again the same. And that was a good start. And then I began to give the book to different people. I took it to my primary care physician, who, by the way, is a regular television interviewer about the COVID-19 virus. And he said he took it home and shared it with his wife and son. He said his son got a copy of the book and wouldn't give it back until he read the whole thing in 2 days and said, Dad, this is good. And then a friend of mine down in Brazil, a doctor there that I've worked with, a young doctor, began to use it in a small group in his church and at the hospital. And I thought, oh, this is great. Now we're down in Brazil. And then we had my former church in Pittsburgh said that they wanted to do this as a sermon series, 9 weeks on the Lord's Prayer. And they had 16 small groups in between services, those 9 weeks. And the pastor said, our church will never be the same again.
Wow.
Said, whenever we make decisions, and we're supposed to pray about things. Now, when we say we need to make a decision, somebody is going to say, could we take a few minutes and just ask God what he wants us to decide? That's our new culture.
Yeah.
Because so many people say, let's pray about it. And then they make a decision. They say, God bless our decision.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. And what your examples are just showing that this is a topic that people are hungry to understand, and it resonates. Mm-hmm. And so it just is going to continue on a life of its own. God is just adding the increase as you sowed, you watered, you did the hard work, you wrote the book, and now God is just doing such an amazing thing with it. I love that.
Well, one of the things that we realize that most of us look at prayer as bringing a list of things that we ask God to do. It's almost like a Santa Claus list. We forget that, no, prayer is conversation. In conversation, you don't just talk to the other person and tell them what you want. You listen to what they want, and it's an exchange. And learning how to listen to God is an exercise that you.
Okay, we're frozen. Let's see if he gets thought out here in a second.
Anything on the screen. There, we're back.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So you were talking about it's a conversation, and it's so important for us. It's not just a laundry list, a Christmas list of what we want. It's a conversation back and forth, and the importance of learning how to wait and listen to his response, not just our request, right?
That's right. Because that would be a normal thing. Imagine if your children go off to college and every time they called, all they said is, Dad, we need money. And you say, but how's it going? And by the time you ask or share what's on your heart, they put the phone down. And I thought, that's what we do with God. We call him up. Here's what we want.
Wow. That's a great picture. What a great word picture. And it's true. And to our shame. So I love that your book equips us to really learn to have a conversation and how to know when it's really his voice. That's so important.
Well, what our small groups are telling us is it's about 9 weeks of chapters of study. And they said in a small group, most people don't get it until about the 5th week. In other words, learning to listen and turning off the noise and what you're thinking is something that is so counter-cultural to the way we normally think about prayer. But they said by the time the book is finished, they get it.
Wow.
and
I
now
love
to
that.
apply it in daily life.
Mm.
It's
Okay. So as we kind of wrap this up, what would you say? Give me an example of an experience that you had since the book's been published that would maybe encourage others to, maybe take that next step of in the publishing journey.
Well, I tell you what, publishing and writing is not an easy task.
Mhm.
It's a discipline. It's something you get up, whether you feel like writing or not, you just have to get on the computer and start typing, and a discipline of setting time aside. So I encourage people to realize it's going to be a learning experience. It's going to take time to learn how to do it. And then the process of working with the publisher is that it takes time to get everything just the way you want it to be. So you have to be committed. It's not something you just say, oh, let's try it.
Right.
The hardest thing I did, but it's been my COVID-19 lockdown exercise for the last 2 years. I'm on my second book, my second COVID book right now.
Wow. But it's really taken something that has been so difficult for so many people with COVID and given you an opportunity to pour life into other people. I love that.
Right, right.
I love it.
It's been a good
Well,
use of my time.
yes, yes. Well, Dr. Selig, thank you so much for being with us today. It was a delight to have you here, and we're going to give away a copy of your book later in the today's broadcast. So thank you so much for just your heart for God.
Very good. Thanks, Athena.
You bet. All right. So now we are going to introduce you all to Missy Linkletter. And Missy is from Arizona. She was part of our very first She Writes for Him virtual conference. Isn't that right, Missy?
Yes, absolutely.
Wow. So good to have you with us today because we're kind of highlighting our virtual conference today. And I'll always remember just your comments about how it impacted your life back in those early days of the beginning of COVID and just all the struggles everyone was going through. Tell us a little bit about your experience coming to that virtual conference.
You know, I actually asked for the conference as a Mother's Day gift, and my husband and my daughter agreed to watch my 3 youngest boys and let me just be in our bedroom for like 3 days. And I signed up for the conference thinking that it would better equip me for writing, which it did. I had no idea what the Lord had in store. And I was just thinking back on his goodness. I think 2 monumental moments in that conference that really stands out to me. The first one was Cynthia Kavanaugh talking about being, I hope I don't get choked up right now.
That's okay.
I know.
Do it all the time.
I know. That's why I love you. She talked about being in the cave of Adullam when King David was in the cave of Adullam. And as she gave this illustration and she shared this story, it occurred to me that I was in the cave. I was in a cave. We had lost our son, our oldest son, in 2017. And I just wasn't sure what life would look like moving forward. And I had been writing first as a way to remember my hope in the gospel. It became an online ministry. God just does that from our brokenness. And so I wanted to learn more about writing. But what I realized is I had been in that cave, just hidden away, and for a good reason. And by the end of that conference, Athena, you talked about how the Lord heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. And I remember just sitting at the end of my bed and I'm just sobbing. And I looked up the verse because I'm like, I need to make sure it says exactly that. And it did. and I the Lord did such a healing work in my life through that conference, which I thought it was for something totally different. But when his word is shared and it's rightly divided, it's powerful. It was so powerful. And that's why I love Redemption Press, because everything is bathed in prayer. It's based upon the word, and I feel safe in that. And so, do you know, I was just thinking, I can see now, looking back from that first conference to right now, I can see how the Lord was setting me up for exactly what I'm doing right now. It's just, he is good. He's good.
He is so faithful. And, to not really realize, until you're kind of on the other side and you look back and go, wow, God,
Yes.
I had no idea that's what you were doing.
I know. I did not. And I just remember the best thing about the virtual conference was that I could cry my eyes out and nobody was going to stop me or see me. And so that was really, really good at that time for me. I'm a private crier more than a public crier. Well, at least I used to be, but I could ugly cry,
Oh,
And,
yeah.
so it was just so good.
Oh, my goodness. Well, I know. And we didn't know what we didn't know. And that first conference, it was just like, okay, all the conferences are canceled. What are we going to do? Let's have a conference, And it was just, we all stood back and went, wow, God, who knew?
That was amazing. It was amazing.
Yeah. So let me ask you this, because I'm super excited that I get to see you at the Proclaim conference. So tell me what you're most excited about coming to Proclaim.
I honestly am most excited to be with you people. I can't wait. It's really special to be on the screen with you, but there is something about being in person, really seeing each other eyeball to eyeball, giving that hug. I love to learn. And so I'm looking forward to learning. And also, life is super busy right now for me, probably most of us. And so if I'm not intentional to carve out time for writing and learning, it's just not going to happen. And so just getting away for 2 or 3 days, it's going to be lovely. So I'm excited.
So now, sometime in between your first She Writes for Him conference and now this second or third, but first in person,
Right.
you actually were part of the She Writes for Him Stories of Living Hope, right?
Yes.
And told
Yes.
your story in there. So that
Yes.
was that your first publishing experience? That one?
That was I had been part of one more compilation. That was the most beautiful book. It is such a gorgeous book, and every story is so God honoring and so authentic. It's been so neat to get to give them to hurting women, and it's very, very powerful. And that was such a great experience. Getting to write that story. It was wonderful.
I love that. It just occurred to me, wait a second, you were part of that too. And we actually highlighted the compilations a couple days ago. So I wanted to at least bring that up because your story is in there and it's powerful.
Well, God does not waste our pain.
He does not. And I am so excited to be able to hug your neck in a couple of weeks.
I know.
So, yes, thank you so much for being with us today to help us in this amazing celebration of 8 years of Redemption Press.
Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. Thank you. All right. Well, we are up to the time when you all are going to meet some team members from Redemption Press. Our operations department is going to come on the screen, and y'all are going to meet Andy and Stephanie. So let's see. Andy is our director of operations, and Stephanie is the operations manager. So they are like what you never see out in front of a business that has a gazillion things going on usually is the operations department, because they are behind the scenes putting out fires. They're like firefighters, and they're shining lights on stuff that needs to get fixed and then fixing them. So it has just been an absolute delight to have what we call our dream team. First of all, to have them with us today on our celebration, but to have them as part of the Redemption Press team. So Andy and Steph, welcome to our celebration.
Thanks, Athena.
Yeah. So let's start with just Steph, why don't you tell us just a little bit about you and your family and just something we don't know about you.
Well, I was born and raised in California, where I still reside with my husband and our 2 black labs. We have them at the opposite end of the spectrum. We have one that's 12 years old, and we have one that's 1 year old, so she's still a puppy and getting into things. So every day working from home and having both of them is such a joy. But when you hear something in the background, you're like, okay, wait, I know I need to go check that. But yeah, still in California. Absolutely love working for Redemption Press.
And you like to do something that you don't normally hear about, like
yeah,
so or something.
I am a hunter. I love going hunting with my husband, as well as doing an annual girls trip. Just girls going out hunting every year for duck and geese. So yeah.
Wow. I love that. See, now if I'd have thought ahead, I would have said, you got to bring a picture of you with your hunting garb on and holding up one of those ducks.
There you go.
That. Yes. See, now no, people would not know that unless you told them.
And you know, what's very interesting is I go hunting with my pearl earrings in that my grandmother bought me. And so having red hair and wearing pearl earrings, everyone calls me Pebbles when we're in the duck line. So very interesting.
Oh, I love that. Okay, Miss Andy, tell us a little bit about you, including your book. You can include that in this part.
Well, I was born in Seattle and spent most of my life.
I know that.
I was born in Seattle.
Oh.
Moved to California when I was 4 and lived there my whole life, raised there. Recently moved to Idaho to follow my 3 adult children and my 5 grandchildren under 6 out to Idaho. Just was not going to watch them grow up from a phone, and sold a business back in California. So I had the opportunity to be able to be with them and see them whenever I want. So that's been really awesome. I published a book with my cousin Cynthia Kavanaugh. It's called Live Bold, a devotional journal to strengthen your soul. We published that in 2019, if I'm not mistaken.
Actually, 2018.
2018. And that was my first writing experience. Always loved to write. I've written poetry since I was a little girl. Always knew I would do something someday. Working on actually a second book now. It's taking some time, but I think the circumstances in my life had to kind of unfold, and it's still being written as I'm writing. So that's kind of exciting too. But it's been a complete honor and joy to work with Redemption Press, especially with Stephanie. Stephanie worked for me back in California when I owned a business back there. She worked for me for 10 years. And for us to come together and do what we did then for you there, here now, it's like twins. We just answer each other's questions, and I know what she's going to do. She knows what I'm going to do. It works so perfectly. And, you know, that was one of the saddest things to sell that business, was to lose her, because, you know, she's like my daughter. And so to have her here is just an extra bonus. It's extra special to have her, to work with her.
Well, and I'll tell you, it when I think about just what we've always needed as a company, to have kind of this dynamo, the two of you behind kind of picking up all the pieces when things, slip through the cracks, finding the things that are wrong, all the details, all of that, the royalties, everything, just to see how God has put that together and given us. I mean, one thing about you, Andy, is you are our person that if we ever have an author out there that's going, something's wrong, I feel like I'm forgotten, or I feel like something's not working right, or there's a problem and I don't know how to put my finger on it, but I'm afraid to say something. You're like that person for us. You're that safe person that's like, we want to know if there's something that we need to fix on our end to make things right, or to make things, get them moving forward because they might be stuck, whatever it is, to have that. They call it an omnibudsman, but to have, I can't do that for everyone. I mean, I got so much on my plate. To know that I have you, Andy, to do that, and Stephanie to be able to have that backup for you to be able to find out, okay, let's figure out how did this happen and how are we going to fix it? It makes my heart so happy.
Well, thank you. I definitely couldn't do it without Stephanie. I mean, she is a workhorse, and I have to tell her to go to bed. I'll look at my emails at like 11, 12, 1 o'clock, and I still see them being sent. I'm like, you're copying me on emails, go to bed. But it's how we work. It's how we're passionate about the things that we believe in. And we're passionate about, making Redemption Press the best that it could be, and you can't fix something that's broken if somebody doesn't bring it to your attention. I mean, we're not the perfect, I don't think anybody runs the perfect business with not any loopholes in it, but I love when we get those, and I don't love is the strong word. I welcome when we get those, because it gives us the opportunity to fix it, right? Yeah. We can fix it if we don't know. And I wanted to tell you something really funny about me, is that I used to say years and years and years ago, you couldn't pay me $1 million to live where it snows. I'm a California girl. My team. I am a diehard 49er fan since I was a little girl. Hope they do great on Sunday. But to live where it's snows, I just don't like. I am a put your feet in the sand kind of girl. And for me now to live in Idaho, where a couple weeks ago it was 0 degrees, it's funny what you will do to feed your children, right? So,
yep.
Yeah.
I love that. Oh my. Okay. So let me just ask each of you while we wrap this up, what is the one thing that just makes the one thing you get to do on your job that just makes your day, that you look forward to every day coming to work at Redemption Press? Steph, let's start with you.
I would say to serve the authors. So the project managers talked about how they get to help the authors birth their babies, and they get to see that finished project in their hands. But the amazing part about what I get to do, one thing I get to do, is send the authors their royalties and be able to be excited with them and celebrate with them getting that first royalty check and the next royalty check. And then after that, I would have to say that is the best part, and being able to clarify questions when they have any.
I love that. All right, Miss Andy, how about you?
I would have to say the inner workings and the foundation of the employees at Redemption Press, encouraging them when they're frustrated, just saying, it's going to be okay. Can I pray with you? Or, like Steph and I have daily or weekly check-ins with the project manager's department. And hey, how many projects do you have? Do you feel like you can take any more? Are you overworked? Are you, just to kind of check in, because 9 times out of 10, they're not going to tell you. Right. And I think that they feel cared for and loved when, we reach out and we make sure that they're okay. And I love doing that. I love being able to make sure that they know that they're needed and appreciated.
I love that. And that is what comes across from you. You're kind of the mama hen of the team. and taking care of them and making sure that they're, because, you know, no one wants to complain. We have a team that is incredibly grateful. Everyone loves their job. They love being on the team. And so nobody really wants to complain. So unless you ask them,
Right.
are you feeling overwhelmed? They're probably not going to say it. And so it's so good for them to have someone who is safe and who will be that advocate for them.
Of course.
I love that. Well, ladies, thank you for being the part of day 7 of our 8 days of celebration. I'm excited to see what the next 8 years bring as you both work so hard at kind of filling in that foundation that was already there, but just building on it and just watching God do his thing. So thank you both so much.
Of course. Thanks for having us, Athena.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. So we are back to my story, and the kind of cliffhanger that I left you with yesterday was I said that prayer, spent all night in prayer for New Year's Eve, just completely surrendering to God, not having any idea what he was going to do. None whatsoever, no clue. And so 8 days later, it didn't occur to me until I typed this up this morning. 8 days, 8 years, whatever. I love how God does that. So I was in the hospital getting my gallbladder taken out on January 8th, 2014, just 8 days after that time in prayer on New Year's Eve. And I received a text while I was in recovery saying that 2 key employees from Wine Press Publishing had left and that it was going down in flames. And the next thing I knew, my former landlord, who also happens to still be the city attorney here in Enumclaw, texted me and asked if I would be willing to come back and help those 1,800 authors that over 20 years were built up within Wine Press Publishing, who were now kind of orphaned and had no publisher. And it turned out that the people who ran Wine Press, who I mistook for credible, caring, loving Christians, actually owed the landlord over $100,000 in back rent. I mean, I rented from that guy for almost 20 years. He was a great guy. He didn't deserve that. And they just, finally, when he just quit believing their lies that they were going to pay him, which they kept saying and never did, he basically got a landlord's lien and he changed all the locks on the doors. And, you know, to be asked if I would come back to this town where all that abuse happened, I wasn't really sure how I felt about it. I mean, I was conflicted. And here I was flourishing in my radio ministry. I had now, at this point, I had transitioned under C10, Commission to Every Nation, CTEN, which is a missionary sending organization. And I had become a radio broadcast missionary. And there was just way too much pain and trauma associated with this quaint little town of Enumclaw, nestled snugly in the base of Mount Rainier. And I just had to surrender all my thoughts, all my opinions, and just tell God, okay, not my will, but yours be done. And if you're asking me, Lord, to do my part to make amends for what I allowed to happen, I was deceived. Yeah, but I still allowed it. I'll do it. I'll submit. This is what you want me to do. So the challenge that I didn't know was coming. I mean, I said, okay, Lord, I am willing to do really what I don't want to do, but I am willing. So the challenge was, and I didn't really know what the challenge was. I just knew it was going to be hard. Well, what I didn't know was that there were many authors who assumed that I had absconded with their money and somehow personally benefited from their publishing contract with Wine Press. But the truth was, since 2010, I hadn't received any sort of remuneration from any business being done. In fact, I'd taken loss after loss after loss, to the point where I was being paid minimum wage to clean the building and scrub toilets. And at the same time that I was doing that, I was also given the burden of a huge tax liability that was not mine to pay, but it was given to me. And I was told it was my gift to God that I would pay that. And yeah, I knew it was my responsibility to take care of those authors and make things right. I mean, I had no idea how I was going to do it. I just knew I had to. So even if I couldn't give them their money back, I didn't have it. They took the money. They absconded with over $1 million in the 4 years that they had ownership of Wine Press. But I just knew, even if I couldn't give them their money back or pay restitution, I had to be willing to do whatever I could. Which was like, I don't know what that means, God, but I'm willing to do the right thing, whatever I can do with what I have. And I kind of wrapped my heart around that decision that God was allowing me to make. He didn't force me. And I said, okay, I'll move back to Washington, even though I told him I'm staying in Texas and I'm not going back. You can't make me. See how well that worked. But I said, okay, I will move back to Washington. I will work on behalf of these authors who'd been taken advantage of by the same people who took advantage of me. So God gave me the name Redemption Press. We could not get redemptionpress.com because it went to some sort of magazine that was really not very active. So I had to get the domain name redemption-press.com. Well, funny thing, just about 2 months ago, we actually got the domain name redemptionpress.com. So right around the time of our 8-year celebration, we actually got that domain name. But God gave me a vision for how we could do things differently than the way Wine Press did, which basically was just a literal cash cow for the company and not that great for the authors. So it was kind of the same model that is even today used by companies like Zulon and Westbow Press. But what absolutely blew my mind was how it all came together, because my abusers did not want to file any sort of bankruptcy papers or anything like that, any sort of admitting of anything, because they knew that it would point back to the guy in charge who always kind of stayed behind the curtain. And, even though they had drained the company of all its assets and it was just a sad shell of its former glory, they wanted to avoid any of those facts that would point back to them. But get this, who knew that if they didn't declare bankruptcy, then I could have access. The landlord invited me to move back into the office that was wine press's office for 16 years at that point. He allowed me to move back in there, all the computers, all the desks, all the chairs, all the, pictures on the wall, file cabinets, everything. I didn't have to come up with a bunch of money to be able to furnish an office. I was able to just move back in. See, if they had declared bankruptcy, all of those things would have been assets. And the trustee would have been trying to liquidate them to pay bills. But because they didn't do bankruptcy, I got the servers. I mean, there were these great big 8-foot tall black mesh servers that had everything on them. And even though they tried to wipe the hard drive clean so I couldn't get anything, they didn't even know what they were doing. And it was like turned back to being all the data there like that. And I mean, that was not only the authors' names, their email addresses, the phone numbers, no credit card information, all that was encrypted, but contact information and all the files for all those books that had been published. Those files belonged to those authors. They paid for them. So not only was I able to get all the files that I could then give back to the authors who wanted to go do something else with their book, but I was able to get the entire mailing list of, at that point, it was like 10,000 names of people who had been in touch with Wine Press over all those years. And I was just able to work hard to get those files back to authors and offer them an opportunity if they wanted to do something with this new little Redemption Press thing that we were going to do. We'd love to help them get those files back into print and available again. And so I was able to begin this new venture in Redemption Press without any funding, without any backers. We offered these just very minimum amount of money to be able to get these authors back into print and get books available again. And it was amazing to me that God just, who knew? It was like, I did not see it coming. But get this. He's doing this amazing redemption story. And at the same time, he's bringing me my prints, which again, this was maybe 3 weeks from the time that I prayed at New Year's Eve. And yeah, that same prince that his wife told me, if anything ever happens to me, I told Ross he should marry you. That guy, God was just preparing me for this, to be a pastor's wife, which I had no idea what that meant. But look what he did. Not only did he restore me into publishing, but he brought me my prints all at the same time. Still makes me weepy. Good weepy. So the cliffhanger is that here he came into the picture at the same time that God put me back into publishing. So the cliffhanger is tomorrow. Some of you've never met him before, so you're going to get to meet him. He's going to be on here with me so that we can just reminisce about our full circle moments and all the little nuances that God was doing behind the scenes that neither of us had any clue that he was doing. All right. So I am now ready for Miss Yellow Girl, Carol, who just got back from Disneyland.
I know. Happiest place on earth.
I don't know. I think Redemption Press is the happiest place on earth. I beg to differ.
It's a very close second, I will tell you that.
Oh,
My grandkids might argue with that, but
yes. Well, I won't argue with it.
it's good to be here today. I've missed you.
Well, why don't you tell us what we are about all our specials and what we got going on, and then I'll just add the color.
All right, that sounds great. So as you know, we've been offering specials every single day as you've been watching. And you also should have received an email, sorry, that will list all the specials and how you can take advantage of them. So if you haven't received one, it means you're not part of the Redemption Press email list. Just send me a message or an email and I'll make sure you get put on that so that you can get all of our updates, because there's a lot of good stuff that we send out. But this whole week until January 31st, we are offering an 18% off our publishing services. And so that's for a full publishing package. It's a great special that we offer not very often during the year. So you might want to take advantage of that. And you have a full year to actually start writing. So if you're thinking about writing and you just have an idea, you can talk to either Mike and BJ and they can get you hooked up and make sure that you are well on your way to get your book done this year. We also we have a bunch of other specials. I'm just going to go super quick through them. We have a coaching special for 18% off. Our boot camp that's going to be coming up in April, May is 8% off. We have our compilation, which Missy was part of, and she is, she wrote a devotional for it, and you can do that too. We have a new one coming out called Courageous Leadership, and there are still opportunities to be a part of that. And that's 18% off. We have platform coaching and our She Writes for Him retreat, which you can get at 8% off, which we normally don't offer a discount for that. And then Proclaim. Today is probably close to one of the last days you can register if you have to fly, because you need to buy tickets. So tomorrow would be 2 weeks out. So go ahead and book that conference tonight, and you'll get the 12 gifts from our faculty as well as the early bird price. Just put challenge in the coupon.
Actually, Shelley said we could put anniversary. She fixed it so it's now tied to our 8-year anniversary.
All right. See what happens when you're gone.
See what happens when you go to Disneyland?
I know. What can I say? But we have something really exciting to launch today, and that is our virtual conference. We have our She Writes for Him virtual conference coming up March 31st through April 2nd. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so you can kind of see some images that'll help you navigate what this is all about. But the conference is called Greater Things, Trusting God in Your Calling. And it's going to be a 3-day virtual event. We have a few keynoters. So Athena, you want to tell us about our keynoters? And then we just got a new one. So she's going to tell us that too.
We have Lynn Austin, who is an just best-selling, award-winning, New York Times best-selling novelist. We've been on faculty together a number of times at the Right to Publish conference. So we're super excited to have her with us. Laura Story, who many of you know, wrote the song Blessings, but she's also written a number of her memoir and a couple of Bible studies, and has just really been one of those modern day sufferers. I mean, she has gone through some major suffering in her life with her husband's brain hemorrhage that he had, or it was a brain tumor, and it just did not turn out. Her marriage, happened in the first year of her marriage, did not turn out the way that everybody prayed and they hoped it would. So she has such a rich depth of God's goodness in the midst of tough stuff. And then Alyssa Childers, who is an amazing YouTube content creator who is all about apologetics and keeping the Bible where it needs to be and on track in your writing. So we're super excited to have her. And we just added one more keynoter who I'm so excited about, Tessa Asher. And she is an amazing historical, biblical fiction novelist. And I devour her books. They are so good and just make the scripture come to life, because, you know, they just add dialogue and description and things that, you know, could very well go along with the story and keep it true to scripture. So we are excited to add her to the Keynote faculty as well. So it's so recent that it's not even on the images yet.
No, I just confirmed it about 10 minutes before we went live. So then we have our faculty, and just look at this lineup. I mean, you can go to shewritesforhimconference.com and see the amazing faculty that we have this year that's going to be doing teaching as well as Q&As. They're going to be doing some breakout sessions. We have our conference team with Christina and Kanita, as well as Shelley Brown, and they will be there to host you through the whole entire event. We have some different things this year. We have some bonuses. We have some intensive, which Edie Melson and Dory Harrell are going to be doing, as well as some workshops that Tammy Whitehurst, Erica Wigenhorn, and Cynthia Kavanaugh will be doing. And so it's a little bit different feel this year. You'll have to go to the website to kind of see what that looks like. But there are 3 different levels. We wanted to make this something that is affordable for everyone. And so you can either get the basic, which is just the basic conference, and then you get the conference for 1 week to review it if you need to. And that is $47. For the deluxe, you can view up to 6 months. And with the deluxe, you get the bonuses. So you get the intensive and you get the workshops, which are smaller Zoom groups that you could have interaction. And then the premium also features some post-conference events, which are 90-minute mastermind sessions that will continue your writing journey. And you have access to the conference for an entire year. So we have 3 different levels, and all you have to do is go to shewritesforhimconference.com, and you can click the one that fits you and sign up today.
Woo! I love that. And are we doing a VIP thing too?
We are doing a VIP.
VIP party.
Then you can choose to be part of the VIP, which is the day before the conference. And we will have some special activities. You'll get a gift box in the mail, just all kinds of fun things that will happen. Those that were part of our VIP last time, we had a big party before the conference and it was a blast. So that's something, but you have to sign up for the conference first to then get invited to the VIP.
There we go. And we are actually going to be doing a big party at our new bookstore location during the virtual conference. So that's just another super fun thing that's going to be happening at that event.
Yes, for sure.
Yes. So now we're going to give away some stuff, right?
We are. I have the spinner all ready.
So we're going to see if the spinner will work, because we couldn't make it work yesterday. So this is Dr. Selig's book on the 5 prayers God loves to answer. Let's see who wins.
There we go.
I don't know, Shelley. I don't know why it didn't work for you.
I don't know. Norma Jean McLeod.
Norma Jean. Woo!
Oh, I need to write it down.
Norma Jean is our winner today for Dr. Selig's book. And let's see who is going to win
Full Circle.
my book, Full Circle, Coming Home to the Faithfulness of God. You can't make this stuff up, I'm telling you. And, oh, Lisa Betts. Yay. All right. So Lisa, who I'm going to meet in 2 weeks, I think we met briefly at the last CPE and ASA event. So, but I will sign this and send that to you. And super, super excited. Tomorrow night is the big night for giveaways. We're going to give away a virtual conference, a boot camp, all sorts of stuff.
You must be present to win.
Yes. Yes. So let me just double check and see if there's anybody here that I missed and didn't say hello to. All right. Wow. I guess they're all from all different places all together in this stream. So I got to do my romper room thing here, ladies. Let's see. So, hey, Beth Beatty and Debbie Ashley. And I think I already said hi to Jan Johnson and Christina and Teresa and Suzanne and Valerie, girl. And I think I said hi to Ann Liz Holtzman. So nice to see you. And Karen Bartlett. So excited to see you in a few weeks. And Teresa Shonda. Nice to see you, my friend. Looks like you had fun in Hawaii. And let's see, Dana Roush. Nice to see you. And Crystal. Gonna see you soon. Jean Hartman. Nice to see you. And hey, Denise and Lisa, so nice to see you again. And let's see, Cindy Saab, nice to see you and excited to hug your neck in a few weeks. Judy Laffler, nice to see you, author of six Redemption Press books, working on her 7th. And let's see, Debbie Midget, nice to see you, my friend. And let's see, who have I missed? Charisse, nice to see you. And Kathy Bucky, my friend, I miss you. And let's see, Inger, who, yes, full circle on the domain name. Yes. Inger was my amazing coach and editor for all my books, but especially for Full Circle. Boy, she did wonders. Because it was what I gave her to work with was not pretty. Let's see, who else do I need to say hi to real quick before we sign off? I think I got everybody. Denise, nice to see you. I think that is everyone that I see in my little romper room looking glass. We're going to have to come up with a parallel for that somehow. So anything on your end, Miss Yellow Girl, before we wrap it up?
Let me see if this works. No. So Andy said that we could give one of her books away. I just saw the message. But my wheel disappeared. So how about if we give it away tomorrow? We'll add that to our list of all the things.
Perfect. We will do it, and we will give away some of the She Writes for Him as well. So we're going to have lots of giveaways tomorrow night.
Right.
Yay. All right. Well, Carol, would you like to pray us out of here?
I would love to. All right, Father, thank you for this day that we've had, just this time in cyberspace, and just for God, all that you are doing and have done through the life of Redemption Press. And Father, I just ask your blessing upon the next 8 years as we continue, looking forward to tomorrow, God, and just all that it will mean to Athena and to Ross and just to all of us who love Redemption Press so dearly. Would you just bless our evening? Thank you for those who have watched. Would you give them just a beautiful evening? And Father, bring them back to us tomorrow as we celebrate. And it's because of Jesus we can pray these things. Amen.
Amen. All right, everybody. Love you all. Thank you for being with us. Boy, we went long today. Woo! I think this is like it was in Arizona when I was supposed to do 10 minutes before each one of Carol's keynotes. She had 4 keynotes, and so I was supposed to do 10 minutes. By the time we finished, my 10 minutes was like 20 minutes. So
it's a story worth listening to.
Yeah. Well, it's amazing what God does. So praise his name. All right, everybody. Mwah. Love you. See you tomorrow, same time, 2:30 Pacific, for our final night of celebrating 8 years of Redemption Press. Love you all. Bye for now.
Bye, everyone.